The forest was still half asleep when the first pale rays of morning light slid between the trees. A cool mist curled around the trunks like drifting breath, giving the woods an almost dreamlike silence. Everything felt untouched, as if nature was holding its breath before the day truly began, but hidden beneath a canopy of leaves lay a fragile life struggling against the cold earth. A tiny, injured baby animal, whether a trembling puppy, a frightened kitten, or a delicate baby deer, dragged itself forward inch by inch. Its fur was wet with dew, its fragile heart beat quick and uneven. Every movement sent a ripple of pain through its tiny body. Still, something inside it refused to give up. It paused, lifting its head weakly. Its wide, innocent eyes scanned the empty world around it, searching for help, for warmth, for a presence that wasn't there. The forest, beautiful yet indifferent, stood quietly as the little creature trembled. Above, the branches swayed gently. A faint golden beam of sunlight fell upon the baby animal, highlighting the shivering outline of its tiny frame. The ground beneath it was cold, and every breath came out in a soft, broken wheeze. The world felt far too big for something so small. It tried to stand again, legs trembling uncontrollably. For a brief second, it managed to lift itself, before collapsing again onto the damp leaves. A tiny whimper escaped its throat, a sound so soft it nearly dissolved into the mist. The forest offered no answer. Every tree seemed to watch silently. Every fluttering leaf carried the same message: survival here was a battle fought alone. Yet even in the middle of its pain, the baby animal's eyes held a faint glimmer, the smallest spark of hope. Maybe it didn't know what it hoped for. Maybe it was simply the instinct to live that kept it breathing, kept it pushing forward despite everything. Hurting slowly, painfully, it curled into a small ball, trying to protect itself from the cold air. Its chest rose and fell weakly. The silence around it grew heavier, and then, it happened. Somewhere far off, faint footsteps echoed, soft at first, then slightly clearer. Someone was walking through the forest. Someone who didn't belong to the stillness of this lonely morning. The tiny creature lifted its head once more, though its strength was nearly gone. It didn't know it yet, but its whole world was about to change. Re-hooky, because every rescue begins with a single step, and those footsteps were getting closer. The footsteps grew louder, crunching softly over dried leaves and damp soil. They echoed gently through the still forest, breaking the silence that had settled like a blanket over the land. Each step carried a rhythm, steady, cautious, almost curious, as if the person walking sensed something unusual nearby. A lone traveler emerged from behind a cluster of tall trees, their backpack slung over one shoulder, their breath visible in the cool morning air. They weren't expecting anything extraordinary from this journey. To them, it was just another walk through nature, another attempt to find peace in a world full of noise and chaos. But fate had decided differently. The traveler paused suddenly. A strange feeling washed over them, like an invisible hand tugging at their attention. They scanned the ground, the trees, the mist, searching for the source of that strange pull. And then, there it was. A faint sound. So soft, it could easily have been mistaken for the wind, but it wasn't the wind. It was a whimper. The traveler's heart tightened. They took slow steps forward, parting the leaves with their hands, following the fragile sound. As they crouched, their eyes widened. There, curled up on the cold forest floor, lay the tiny, injured baby animal. For a moment, the traveler froze, not out of fear, but out of heartbreak. The creature was so small it looked like it didn't belong in a world this harsh. Harsh. Its fur was matted with dew, its body trembling uncontrollably, its breath shallow. "Hey, hey, little one," the traveler whispered gently, lowering themselves to the ground. Their voice was soft, careful, like they were afraid their words might cause the fragile creature more pain. The baby animal blinked weakly, its eyes struggling to stay open. It didn't understand who this stranger was, but it sensed warmth, something it hadn't felt in a long time. The traveler slowly extended a hand, giving the creature time to react. When it didn't pull away, They carefully lifted it, wrapping it in a warm cloth from their bag. The tiny body fit perfectly in their palms. "You're safe now," the traveler murmured, almost making a promise they weren't sure they could keep, but one they desperately wanted to. Holding the baby close, the traveler stood, scanning the forest around them. The path ahead looked unfamiliar. The fog seemed thicker, and silence settled once again. But this time, it wasn't empty. It was expectant. Something was watching, something was waiting. The traveler adjusted their grip on the little creature and took a slow breath. Whatever dangers the forest held, they would face them. They had to, because a fragile life now depended on them. Rehooky, but the forest wasn't done testing them, and the real journey was only beginning. The traveler tightened their grip around the small bundle of cloth, feeling the baby animal's faint heartbeat against their palms. Every few seconds, the creature let out a soft, pained breath, a reminder of how fragile it truly was. The traveler looked down at it, then back toward the forest path ahead. Only, there was no clear path anymore. The fog had thickened, drifting in like a silent tide. The once familiar trail had dissolved beneath layers of wet leaves and swirling mist, leaving nothing but shadows and uncertainty still. The traveler pressed on. Branches brushed against their shoulders as they moved deeper into the woods. The air grew colder, heavier. The wind whispered through the treetops, but its tone felt different now, almost warning, almost pleading. Every sound, every rustle, every crack of a twig seemed sharper than before. The baby animal whimpered softly, and the traveler gently hushed it. "It's okay, we're going to make it. Just hold on." But the forest didn't make it easy. Mud pulled at the traveler's boots, roots twisted beneath the ground like traps waiting for an unsuspecting step, and the silence felt heavier with every minute. They tried to follow their instincts, but with each passing moment, uncertainty pushed deeper into their mind. "Am I walking in circles? Is there even a way out from here? What if I'm too late?" But giving up wasn't an option. Not now. The traveler pushed through a cluster of thorny bushes, feeling them scratch at their arms. A gust of cold air swept through the trees, sending a shiver down their spine. The baby animal stirred uneasily, curling deeper into the warmth of the cloth. The traveler paused to catch their breath, leaning against a tree. They scanned the forest, and that's when they noticed something: movement. Not close, but not far either. A quick flicker between the trees, like a shadow slipping behind a trunk. The traveler blinked hard. Was it an animal? Another person? Something else entirely? The baby shivered again. The traveler held it tighter and continued forward, heart now beating faster. The forest had changed tone. The danger wasn't physical anymore. It was the feeling of being watched, followed, measured. The trees seemed taller, the air thicker, and the silence stretched too long. The traveler stepped carefully, but the sense of urgency grew stronger with every heartbeat. They had to keep going. They had to find safety. The baby animal's breathing weakened slightly, pushing fear deeper into the traveler's chest. "And no," they whispered firmly. "You're going to live. I promise." They lifted their chin, pushed aside a curtain of leaves, and stepped into a darker part of the forest, a place where even the sunlight struggled to enter. Unseen eyes watched from the shadows, and the traveler felt it, but turning back now was impossible. Rehooker, because sometimes, the deeper you go into the forest, the more the forest begins to follow you. The forest had grown unnaturally quiet. Too quiet. Even the wind seemed to hesitate before slipping through the branches. With the baby animal trembling softly in their arms, the traveler slowed their pace, every instinct alert and uneasy. Something wasn't right. They took a step forward. A branch snapped somewhere behind them. The traveler froze. Their heart pounded in their chest as they carefully turned their head, scanning the forest. Mist curled around the trees like pale smoke, making the shadows thicker, deeper, harder to read. For a moment, nothing moved. Nothing breathed. Then, another sound. A slow, deliberate rustle. Not the wind. Not the shifting of leaves. Something alive. Something with weight. The traveler tightened their arms protectively around the baby animal, whose tiny body had gone rigid with fear. Sure, it's okay, the traveler whispered. Though they weren't sure if that was true, they took a cautious step backward. The rustling sound mirrored it, step for step, shadow for shadow. It wasn't their imagination. Something was following them. The traveler swallowed hard and forced themselves to keep moving. Their footsteps were careful, but their breathing grew faster. Every few seconds, they glanced over their shoulder, but the fog swallowed everything before it could take shape. As they reached a narrow clearing, a faint beam of sunlight managed to penetrate the canopy. For the first time in a while, they could see better, and that's when they saw it. A pair of eyes, glowing, unblinking, watching from between the trees. The traveler's blood turned cold. The eyes were low to the ground, wide-set, and too steady to belong to a harmless creature. The figure behind them remained hidden, but the message was unmistakable. They were being hunted. The baby animal whimpered again, its tiny body trembling violently. Instinctively, the traveler held it closer and stepped away from the glowing eyes. It's all right. Stay with me, they whispered, though fear was tightening like a knot in their throat. The eyes shifted slightly. Not closer, not further. Just tracking. Studying, waiting, the traveler backed into the thicker part of the forest, careful not to make any sudden movements. Every crackle of leaves underfoot felt painfully loud. Every breath sounded like a shout in the suffocating silence. When a distant howl echoed through the forest, the traveler flinched. This wasn't just a rescue anymore. It was a race. They needed to get the baby animal to safety before whatever lurked in the shadows decided to strike. With their heart pounding and their legs trembling, the traveler turned and pushed deeper into the forest, moving faster now. The shadows behind them shifted. Following, the forest itself felt alive. Watching. Closing in, and the traveler knew this night wasn't done testing them, not even close. Rehook you, because sometimes the danger you fear is nothing compared to the danger that's already following you. The traveler's lungs burned as they pushed deeper into the forest, their steps quick and uneven. The baby animal lay silent now, not because it was safe, but because its strength was fading. That silence terrified the traveler far more than the glowing eyes that still lingered somewhere in the fog behind them. The forest seemed to stretch endlessly. Every direction looked the same. Every shadow felt alive. But the traveler refused to stop. Not when a tiny life depended on them. Branches scratched against their arms and face, sharp and unkind. The ground beneath them shifted from soft soil to uneven rocks. The air became colder, then warmer, then cold again, as if they were crossing invisible thresholds within the forest. Then, without warning, the trees ahead thinned. A faint golden glow filtered through the branches. The traveler slowed. "What is that?" They whispered. With careful steps, they moved forward. The baby animal stirred weakly in their arms, responding to the sudden warmth in the air. One more step, another, and then they broke through the tree line. Before them lay a narrow path illuminated by the late afternoon sun. The light felt almost unreal after the dark, tense forest. It wrapped around them like a warm embrace, softening their fear, calming their racing heart. But the moment of relief was short-lived. A branch snapped behind them. Loud, deliberate, the traveler whipped around, holding the baby animal close, ready to shield it with their own body. The fog behind the trees shifted, swirling like a living thing, and then a voice called out, "Hey! You there? Are you all right?" The traveler blinked, stunned. Stepping out from the shadows was a man in a Green Ranger uniform, flashlight in one hand, a medical kit strapped to his side. His expression shifted from surprise to shock to concern. "Wait, what's that in your arms?" The traveler loosened the cloth just enough to reveal the tiny creature. The ranger's eyes widened. "Oh no, it's injured. Badly." He stepped forward quickly. "You did good. Really good. But we need to get it help. Now." The traveler felt their entire body sag with relief. For the first time since the journey began, they weren't alone. The ranger gently took the small animal, examining it with trained care. The forest behind them seemed to fade, as if whatever had been watching knew the chase was over this way, the ranger said. The rescue cabin is close. They walked down the sunlit path together. The baby animal let out a soft, weak sound, but it was no longer a cry of fear. It was something else, hope. As they reached the clearing, the wooden rescue cabin came into view. Warm light glowed from its windows, welcoming and safe. The travelers stopped for a moment, watching as the ranger carried the tiny creature inside. They felt tears forming, not of sadness, but of overwhelming relief. One small life had been saved, and sometimes that's enough to change the world. Final rehook. Because the forest may test you, but hope always waits at the edge of the trees.